So in this lesson today, we're going to review and explore angles and sides of a right triangle. And you'll understand this a little bit more when we get to Tuesday, but this is kind of like a precursor to what we're going to teach on Tuesday. So today we will explore sides and angles of a right triangle, okay? So using the image at the right, what can you say about the following? So first of all, what is the right angle and what is a right angle? So we could say that a right angle is, what, 90 degrees, right? Couldn't we say that? We could also say it's opposite the hypotenuse. And then we could also say it's angle A, right? Okay, acute angles. What does that term acute mean? Acute means that the angle is less than 90 degrees, okay? So we have angles B and angle C, which you can't see up here because it's covered up with my little pen. Those are both acute angles. Now, what is the sum of all the angles when we add them together? Do y'all remember this from last semester? Yep, it's 180 degrees, okay? And then if this is 90, then what do B plus C have to equal? They have to equal 90, right? Because 180 minus 90 is 90, so B and C have to add up to be 90, okay? So then down here it says, in a right triangle, the sides can be labeled based on their relationship to the angles. So the hypotenuse, hypotenuse, is always the side that's opposite, and we've said this so many times, y'all, the right angle, right? Okay? Then the opposite side, and this is what we're going to talk about, opposite and adjacent sides. Okay, so the opposite side is the side opposite the given acute angle, okay? Okay. And then the adjacent side, y'all remember from last semester what adjacent means? Doesn't it mean right next to or beside? So the adjacent side is the side next to or beside a given acute angle. Now, when we're doing this, we're always going to find our hypotenuse first because that takes away one of the three, and so it should make it easier for you to find the opposite side and then the adjacent side, okay? So what is the side that's the hypotenuse here? That's going to be YZ, right? Then we want to talk about, so we know this is H, done, okay? Then we want to talk about what side's opposite angle Y, okay? So angle Y is here, so what side is opposite of angle Y? That would be XZ. And then what side is adjacent? Okay, what does adjacent mean? Okay, so this was opposite, so we're going to label it O, okay? And that has to do with angle Y. So which one is beside? Which side is beside that we haven't already labeled? This is the key. It's this one right here. So which one is that? X, Y. Okay, y'all see that? Okay, now this again is going to become very relevant when we do this on Monday, okay? So now I'm going to erase all that. The only thing that's not going to change is our hypotenuse, right? So our hypotenuse is going to stay our hypotenuse, right? So I'm going to erase all the rest of this. Now it says what side is opposite angle C. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to do this in green. So what side is opposite angle Z? Right there. So that was our what? X, Y. Then it says what side is adjacent angle Z. So it can't be our hypotenuse. This was our opposite, right? So it's got to be what's left, right? So that's going to be that side right there. So that's going to be XZ. Okay? And again, we're just going to practice this. This was then our adjacent, right? Okay? I don't think I put A on the previous one, y'all, so I should have. All right, so let's keep going. All right, so then let's see if you guys can do this here. Pause the video here and let's see if you can figure out what's the hypotenuse, what side's opposite P, which side's adjacent P, angle P, which side's opposite angle R, what side's adjacent angle R, okay? Okay, so here again, PR is the hypotenuse, right? So we're going to label that H, okay? Then let's talk about what side's opposite angle P. Opposite angle P, that's opposite right there. That's going to be QR, right? Okay, and what is adjacent? What's the only thing that's left that's not marked? It's this one right here, right? So that's going to be our adjacent side to angle P. It's going to touch angle P. Y'all got me? So adjacent's always going to touch the angle. So that's going to be PQ. Okay, now I'm going to erase our red again. Because now, and you know, I'm going to erase this too because we already got H marked. Now we're going to talk about, again, we're going to talk about opposite and adjacent to angle R, okay? So when we talk about angle R, opposite is right there. That's now going to be PQ. And adjacent angle R, what touches angle R, y'all, but is not labeled yet? This is our adjacent side. Y'all see that? Okay, because remember, the adjacent side is always going to be a side of the angle, okay? So that's going to be QR. We good so far? Okay. So then I want you guys to do this one all by yourself. Again, just a little more practice, okay? So go ahead and do this one. And come back to me when you're done. Hypotenuse. Right there, right, y'all? So that's NO. Which side's opposite O? That's going to be our opposite. That's going to be MN. Which side is adjacent angle O? So what have we not marked yet? What side have we not marked yet that actually touches the angle O? That's going to be our adjacent side. So that's going to be MO, right? Now I'm going to erase all that because now we're going to talk about a different angle, okay? So once again, we're going to look at angle N, right? So we're looking at what is opposite. Now remember, this was still H, right? So what is opposite? That's going to be our opposite now. It's going to be MO, right? What's going to be adjacent? What is touching angle N, but not, what's touching? What side is touching it, but it's not labeled yet? So that's, whoops, our adjacent side right there. So our adjacent side's right here, and that's MN. Hopefully y'all get in the groove of this, okay? Pretty easy. All right, so then it says, find the measure of the angles and indicate the side lengths, the length of the sides. Okay, so earlier we talked about these two. So this angle's 90, right? So when I add these two up, what do they have to be? Don't they have to add up to be 90? So this is what we can do. Anytime we have one of those angles, we can just subtract it from 90. So we're going to subtract 67.4 from 90. And that's going to give us 22.6 degrees for angle Z. 22.6 degrees, okay? Then it says, what's the length of the hypotenuse? So we know that the hypotenuse is opposite the right angle, so that's our 13, right? Then it says, what's the length of the side that's opposite angle P? What angle P? What happened here, y'all? I guess I didn't change these, so let's change this. Let's call Y, Y, Z, Z. Okay? Is that what I did when I printed the notes too? I sure enough did, didn't I, y'all? Yep. Didn't change it to X, Y, Z. Okay, so we're going to just change it to those two angles. So what's the length of, or what's the length of the side opposite Y? So that would be our 12, right? What's the length opposite, or adjacent to it? So what's the only, so this is our opposite side. This was our hypotenuse, right, y'all? So what does this one have to be? It has to be our adjacent, doesn't it? Okay, so now we're going to do Z. I'm going to erase all this stuff. H stays H, doesn't it? This is still our H, right? Okay. So now, if we're looking at Z, what is opposite Z? So now this becomes our opposite. So that's 5. And what is adjacent? It's this one right here. This is now going to be our adjacent. So that's going to be 12. Okay. Now, listen, I'm telling you, this is going to become very relevant come Monday, okay? Or Tuesday of next week, okay? So then it says, given that the measure of angle N is 36.9. Now we should know that N plus M is, yeah. Okay, so go ahead and do this. Come back to me when you're done. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to do 90 minus our 36.9. 90 minus 36.9, and that's, whoop. Yeah, 90 minus 36.9. I'm doing it on a calculator right now, y'all. That's 53.1. So this is going to be 53.1 degrees. Right? Okay? All right, what's the length of the hypotenuse? There it is right there, H. 15, right? Okay. So now let's talk about opposite and adjacent. Let's just do this in green. So what is opposite of angle N? That's our 9, right? So what's going to be adjacent? Which side is touching that angle besides the hypotenuse? That's our 12, right? So that's our adjacent when we're talking about angle N. All right, so I'm going to erase that, and we're going to do, leaving the H, right? So now we're going to talk about M. So what side is opposite the M? That's going to be our 12, right? So that's going to be 12. And which side is not labeled currently, y'all? That's our adjacent side, right? So that's going to be 9. Now, hopefully you start to see a pattern emerge here. And again, we're going to use all this Tuesday when we start talking about the ratios of sine, cosine, and tangent.